Well, hello, my wonderful kindred spirits. I thought it would be fun today to show you some of my gemstone and crystal collection. Now, my daughter and I like to go up to the mountains of North Carolina every year and dig and mine for gemstones. It's just a fun activity that we enjoy doing together. Sometimes we'll pack a picnic lunch and we'll drive up there. It's about an hour and a half away from where we live here in the Piedmont, and we will mine for the gemstones and then carry them back home. And then what we do is we put the gemstones in this little rock tumbler. This is pretty neat because what you do is you take this barrel, and it's a kind of a rubber barrel, and you take the lid off, and then you put your stones inside of it along with the grit. It's kind of like a sandy grit, and then mix some water in. Then you put this on the little mechanical device that will tumble this or turn it. And it takes probably about 2 good months total to get everything looking really shiny and pretty. But it's kind of like a prize, because every time you open this up, you have to change out the grit about 4 different times, I believe. I think that's right. But it's a prize because every time you open it up to change out the grit, your rocks look different, and they've gotten a little bit smoother and shinier each time. So it's a fun little hobby to have. So I'm going to set that aside there, and I'm going to show you some of the gemstones and crystals that we've collected over the years. Now, the difference between a gemstone and a crystal is that a gem is a rare mineral, where a crystal is just a molecular structure of a pure substance that forms a geometric pattern. That sounded so fancy, didn't it? I'm reading it right here. But that's the difference. Now, you may hear me interchanging gemstone, crystal, and stone. And so if there are any true geologists out here, please forgive me. I'm not a geologist. I'm just an old rock hound from way back, and I've always enjoyed these stones and looking at them and seeing the differences. Now, there are a lot of folklore surrounding these stones metaphysically. And I'm going to let you know a little bit about that too, because I find it fascinating. And whether you believe it or not, that's up to you. But it is kind of neat to hear about it. So let's get started, and I'll show you some of the goodies that I have here. So the first crystal that I have is called citrine. Now, the citrine is sort of an amber, sort of a yellowish white colored crystal. And these are considered raw crystals, RAW, because they have not been tumbled or polished yet. But these two have, and you can see they're a lot smoother and a lot shinier than the raw crystals that came out of the earth. And isn't that beautiful? Now, citrine, metaphysically, is supposed to attract wealth and prosperity. So that is citrine. Next up is rose quartz, and I think this is everybody's favorite. Metaphysically, rose quartz is supposed to purify and open up the heart. So this is a little rose-colored crystal here, or quartz. Quartz is a crystal, and these are the ones in the raw form. And then these have been tumbled in my little rock tumbler, and you can see how much more smooth they are. And I just love how that looks. But, you know, it's everyone's different. These are beautiful that have been tumbled. They're absolutely gorgeous to look at, but My daughter and I both really love the way the raw ones look because that's how they came out of the ground. Okay, next up is tiger eye. And I was so happy when we found these because I didn't realize that they had this in North Carolina. Now, this is supposed to give you courage and protect. Now, check this out. This is so neat. So these are the raw versions of the tiger eye. And you can still see how it, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but they have a little bit of a iridescent shimmer. See that band through there? Isn't that neat looking? Here is one that we tumbled. And you can see it has bands through it too. I love this one. That is just beautiful to me. Okay. This is one of my favorites. This is called Black Obsidian. This one has been tumbled. This one actually did not come from when we mined for it. This one, I'm not sure where I bought this. Probably bought it at a little shop somewhere. But I've always loved it. I love how it looks and feels. It's shiny. It just feels really good in your hand. And let's see. Black Obsidian is supposed to stimulate healing and regeneration. And it's also a protective stone. Okay, we're going to do my two favorite stones next. This one is called, I'm not sure if it's pronounced peridot or peridot, Peridot, but it's green, and it is just so beautiful to me. Isn't that a pretty, pretty color? I love how that looks. And peridot or peridot is said to inspire eloquence and creativity. Now, this next one is my birthstone, and I have to tell you a really neat little story. Years and years ago, my husband and children and I went to a little town called Little Switzerland. I don't know if y'all know where that is. It's in the mountains of North Carolina. And we rented a cabin there, and the cabin sat on the banks of a tiny little stream. And so the kids and I went down to the stream to dip our toes in the water. And it was a clear mountain stream. It was so pretty. It was a branch off of a stream, so it was just really thin. But anyway, when we got down there, it had regular river rocks, little stones, but then it also was filled with these gorgeous little pieces of amethyst. I mean, they looked like somebody had just thrown a handful out there. And I looked around and I asked my husband later, I said, "Did you plant those there for us to discover?" He said, "What are you talking about?" No, that they were naturally occurring in that little stream. And I thought that it was magical to see that with my kids, because you could see the dappled sunlight coming down, and you could see those beautiful rocks and that sunlight hitting the rocks and that water, and then you could see these beautiful little amethyst in there. And so I love that story. I love that memory. But amethyst is my birthstone. That's a February birthstone. And it's associated with luxury, wealth, and power, and it's supposed to cleanse negative energy. So that is an amethyst. This one is always interesting. This is iron pyrite, which is otherwise known as fool's gold, because people have mistaken this for real gold in the past. And metaphysically, this one is supposed to enhance strength of the mind and willpower. Now, I love this next one because it is so plentiful, not only in the mountains, but in my own yard. This is clear quartz. And if I walked out in my front yard right this minute, I guarantee I would find several pieces that look like this. These are in their raw state. this one has been tumbled. And then these two we pulled out of a little mining operation here. And so you can kind of see the edges there where they've got the geometric shapes here. And I'm just fascinated by these. Now, metaphysically, the clear quartz promotes mental clarity, focus, and decision-making abilities. Next up is a smoky quartz. Now, I want you to look at that. So here is a clear quartz, and then here is a smoky quartz. And see the difference? It does look like there's smoke inside of that. Now, smoky quartz is supposed to absorb electromagnetic smog and neutralizes negative energies. So that is a smoky quartz. Okay, now next up is an emerald. And metaphysically, this is supposed to represent fertility and vitality. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this, because if you look at it, you think, oh, that don't look like any fancy emerald I've ever seen. Well, this is referred to as a junk stone because it's not a gemstone in this state. There are different levels of gemstones, and this is a junk stone basically. You could never polish this up or shine it up to make it look like a beautiful green emerald that we're used to seeing in jewelry. But I like it. And it has been tumbled. It's really smooth now. It used to be very rough looking like a lot of those other raw stones, but it's just kind of flat. Now, next is a stone called sodalite. And I thought this was fascinating. It's called the blue logic stone because it's said to have the ability to clear the mind and bring deep thought. I don't know about that, but it does make me think deeply when I sit and look at that because I'm mesmerized by the beauty of it. These all have been tumbled. Now, they're not super shiny because I got kind of tired of waiting, and so I took them out before I should have, and so they're not quite as shiny as they could be. But that is sodalite. Next up, this has a fascinating story. This is called serpentine. Now, serpentine, from what I've read, there is a band, a twin band of serpentine rock that goes up through the Appalachian Mountains and goes up through the Scottish Mountains. It's supposed to assist you in making positive changes in your life. Now, this next one is called fluorite, and I want you to look at that neat color. It's a greenish color, and metaphysically, this one is used for discernment and aptitude. It's used for grounding and harmonizing spiritual energy. This fluorite cannot be tumbled because it is too soft. So if I were to put this in my tumbler, it would just eventually tumble up to tiny little rocks, and it'd break apart too easily. So you can't tumble this. But it makes a very pretty little rock, and it's interesting to have around and give to people, especially if you have a little kid who comes over and they like rocks too. I love a little rock hound kid. So if you know one in your life, they would probably love to have one of these because they're just so unique looking. Now, I wanted to show you this too. This is a little golden book. It's not a little golden book. It is a field guide. It's a golden field guide to geology. And this talks a lot about different minerals and crystals and where they come from and how they were formed. Again, I probably should have been a geologist because I could sit and read about this for hours. I just love the study of geology. Now, a couple of other things I wanted to show to you that are not gemstones, but they are interesting. Let me pull these aside first here. Okay, now both of these stones are just river rocks, but I find them fascinating to look at because, first of all, this one right here, you think about all the years of running water running over that stone, and it formed that indention. And that's a nature-made worry stone. That's not man-made, that's nature-made. And then this one has not been tumbled, but it is so smooth, and it's just smooth by the river of years and years of that flowing river running across it. Just smoothed it out, and it's just a beautiful kind of a red clay color. This is a piece of petrified wood, and my daddy went to a fossil and mineral show many years ago when I was little in Nashville, and he picked this up. And there are several houses here in North Carolina that are made out of this petrified wood, and I just find that fascinating. You can see the layers, the rings of a tree that once was wood, but now it's stone. And then we have this old shark's tooth. I was always fascinated by that as a little girl. Big old shark's tooth. And it's ancient. Okay, and last but not least, the part of Tennessee that I'm from is a little town called Waverly. And there was a Native American tribe that lived there, and they were the Creek Indians. And I don't know if you're familiar with this area or not. It's Humphreys County, but the Duck River flows through that land, and my great-great-granddaddy bought a piece of property years and years ago. And side note, I can't wait till October because I'm going to tell you some spooky stories about that land. Oh my goodness, I'm excited about that, so excited. But anyway, these arrowheads came from that farmland. Now, my extended family still owns that farmland. It's a century farm. So much history down there. Oh my goodness, it's so full of history. And so what would happen was my great uncles would go out there because the land is still farmed, but years ago they'd go out there and they would plow up the land and turn over the land with their plows and just dig up arrowheads. Little kid to go behind that plow and dig in those rows of dirt and find things like this. So again, this isn't a crystal or a gemstone, but it is a very old piece of the earth that was chiseled into a hunting weapon. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. I hope y'all have a good sleep, and I'll see you on the next video.